Reports are coming that Bronny James could be going to the Phoenix Suns, as they are one of the two teams that are allowed to hold workouts alongside the Lakers for the young star. Could that mean that LeBron James could be coming over as well to Phoenix? We'll be breaking down all of that and more on this episode of Suns Digest. I'm Bruce Velez alongside my co-host C.J. Pierre. Before we dive in on all of this Phoenix Suns news, we'd like to let you guys know that 91% of you guys who watch our videos are not subscribing. We greatly appreciate it. If you guys hit that subscribe button, as CJ and I are trying to get to 1,000 subscribers on here on Suns Digest, and this is the daily place for Suns news for you guys. We've broken a lot about Bronny James. We broke down a trade video regarding Yusuf Nurkic yesterday. If you guys want to make sure you stay up to date on everything, this is the place for you guys. Without further ado, though, let's dive into the topic at hand, CJ. Make sure to grab a snack to go and get ready for this, but let's dive in. First thing we're going to be talking about is Bronny getting drafted. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, I know that we've talked about this on our channel a bunch, but we want to look at this report from Evan Cedery this morning saying that Bronny James has scheduled for 10 workouts with NBA teams, but he's declined all of them except two: the Los Angeles Lakers and Phoenix Suns, per Shams Charania and the Run It Back FanDuel TV show. Phoenix will legitimately be considering drafting Bronny James at number 22. Now, CJ, I know in the last couple of videos you kind of broken this down, going over it. The Suns actively pursuing LeBron James. Shams revealing that the Suns are pursuing a guy in Bronny James. So if you guys missed those videos, definitely check them out after this one. But guys, CJ, let's get this into you first. Let's talk about this because me and you talked about it at the beginning of the year, talking about the Suns. Matt Ishbia saying he wanted to trade these picks. We're not going to keep these picks. But now the rumors are coming that they might keep them for Bronny James. So, CJ, I want to get your understanding on how you feel about that.
So obviously, this is the game that, NBA owners and GMs are going to play around draft time, whether or not they're, hey, this pick's for sale or, or we're going to be trading this pick away and really trying to mask what they're actually trying to do. But now with these reports in terms of the teams that Bronny's going to work out for, when there's smoke, there's fire, right? Like you have to believe that there are legitimate conversations between Bronny's camp and the Phoenix Suns in that regard. We all know that, the Lakers are trying to do whatever they can to make sure they keep LeBron. They want to keep LeBron a Los Angeles Laker, and drafting Bronny could be the key that they need to keep LeBron in LA. Now, switch over to the Phoenix Suns. If the Phoenix Suns are interested in Bronny, possibly LeBron James, then this is the step that they would need to take. So that completely changes the outlook in terms of what they're trying to do with trades and what their belief is, that they actually believe that they can get LeBron through Bronny, then keeping that 22nd overall pick is the best option for them to do so. There are probably tons of teams that are thinking along the exact same lines. I draft Bronny, I get LeBron. But what are they willing to do to make that happen? A lot of these teams that are in the lottery picking high, there are so many high caliber draft prospects in this upcoming draft. You don't want to necessarily look there. I would not expect Bronny to be the third overall pick in this draft. Like it's just not going to happen. Not for a guy who is universally looked at as a potential second round pick. Then you start looking at to the late first round. That's where you find some of these teams that are going to be willing to try and make a move. The Los Angeles Lakers have the 17th overall pick, kind of. There's a chance that may go to New Orleans Pelicans, but we might know more about that in a couple of days. Then there's the Phoenix Suns at number 22. Could they make the move right there? Could they possibly trade down? All those options are on the table, but when you have a guy like Bronny and the potential of him bringing his dad, arguably the second greatest player of all time, you have to consider it. You have to look into it. And if the Phoenix Suns are legitimately looking at Bronny and he's going to be, the Suns are going to be one of the two teams that he actually works out for, actually gets in the building, actually talks to the people involved. I mean, you cannot help but, speculate and try and fantasy book and fantasy draft and, figure out, what a Phoenix Suns team could look like with Kevin Durant, Bradley Beal, Devin Booker, and LeBron James.
Now, you mentioned that four-headed monster would be absolutely ridiculous for this Phoenix Suns team. And I know, CJ, you and I have talked about with this team The only two draft picks that we really necessarily have is this 22nd pick and the first in 2031 that we get on draft night. And the report from Matt Ishbia from this team is that they're going to be actively trying to trade these picks, actively trying to use them with guys like Nazir Little, Yusuf Nurkic to get some better assets around the edges. And even though that would help us out, me and you have kind of discussed on camera, off camera, how we'd like to keep this draft capital kind of brewing with some young guys. We got the new G League team that just came through. We want to see these guys develop and grow. And I know you've broken some guys down from, obviously, on your draft video talking about Kel Ware to Bronny James to a bunch of different targets that the Suns could go after for this squad. So my question to you is do you think that Bronny James is the best decision for the Phoenix Suns to go to at pick 22, or do you think that there's some other guys possibly that could be better?
Uh, oh man, that's so tough. There's the LeBron James hanging over everything is really the thing. If we just take a look at Bronny as a draft prospect on his own, he is a potential NBA player, a potential NBA roster guy. I don't project Bronny to come out and become a perennial all-star. He's not going to come out and become an all NBA player. That's just not his makeup. He's undersized. He's got some solid athleticism, but nothing over the, that some of these other players with better draft profiles have. He's a decent shooter. He's streaky, but when he gets cold, he gets really cold, and he can sometimes shy away. He's a solid defender, willing defender, can get into passing lanes, but again, being undersized and where we're getting into an NBA where so many of these perimeter players are, 6'6", 6'7". Can you imagine Bronny trying to guard Luka Doncic right now? I don't really think that that's something that would work out well. So just as a prospect on its own, I think there are definitely better potential prospects out there. We're talking about Khalil Ware out of Indiana as a big man. I talked about Bub Carrington, point guard out of Pittsburgh. I think that there are other potential draft prospects that could be in that number 22 range. Kyle Flipikowski from Duke. There are other guys who are going to be around that, mid to late first round that project a little bit better as prospects, NBA prospects that could help the Suns immediately. Bronny is not going to help the Suns right away unless he brings his dad with him. So it's kind of hard to think. I would think that the only reason that the Suns would legitimately draft Bronny with this 22nd overall pick is if they know or have a good inclination that LeBron James would be willing to come to Phoenix as well.
Exactly, and that's what I agree with as well. And I think that's what we've kind of seen. Obviously, now that Bronny has scheduled only to work out with the Lakers and with the Suns, it's looking like that these are the two teams. If LeBron wants to stay in LA, if he wants to compete and, stay with that team, if they still somehow get their pick, because if the Pelicans don't steal it from them on June 1st, then obviously he could stay in LA and play with the Sun. But if another team were interested, it does look like the Suns are the team that want to go for it. Matt Ishbia, we know, wants to bring a championship to this squad. He said multiple times that this team can win an NBA championship. And if they can get a guy in LeBron James, who we see from this video, from Trevor Lane, from Lakers Nation, where Rich Paul accidentally revealing that LeBron James will opt out, that could be even bigger implications for the Phoenix Suns. As we know, if he opts out, he can sign a vet minimum contract or a cheaper contract with this team, come basically for the free, and get to play alongside Kevin Durant, Bradley Beal, and Devin Booker, making a four-headed monster out in Phoenix. So CJ, as we know, as we get to this, I got one final question for you before we head off. Is this smart for the team? Is this the right decision for the Phoenix Suns? To go after Bronny James, to potentially bring in LeBron, to have that four-headed monster? Or should they go for some different youth movement, try to bring some draft capital in, see how the things work around the edges, and go that direction? First off, I think, before we get into it, I'm going to say I think it's a smart move that they go for Bron.
I gotta agree with it, man. It's while it's crazy and it's wild to think about. If you actually look at it from not just on the court, from a business side of things, it'd be a great move if the Suns could acquire somehow Bronny James and LeBron James. First, let's look at the Bronny side of it. Does Bronny have the potential to be an NBA player? He does. He would just have to develop. It would take some time. He's going to be a project. He could potentially turn into a Davion Mitchell, backup point guard type of situation, microwave scorer off the bench. but it's not going to happen right away. It's going to take some time. That means that he would probably have to spend some time in the G League. The Suns, with this new G League team, you bring in Bronny James to kind of be the face of the start of this new G League team. You're going to be selling out G League games. You're going to be the talk of G League town. G League games with Bronny are going to be appointment viewing, regardless of how much playing time he's getting or how many points he scores. And if he does continue to be able to develop and become a star in the G League, let's say, that even does even more for your business. Then let's flip it to the possibility of bringing in LeBron James. Of course, that's great for business. He's the face of the league, and you're bringing him into your organization to pair him with three of the best offensive players in this entire game. We talked about we need a point guard, we need a point guard, we need a point guard. LeBron James is one of the best facilitators in the entire league. You automatically have your point guard in LeBron James to feed Bradley Beal, to feed Devin Booker, to feed KD. Now, what does that lineup look like? What does the rest of the roster look like? I don't know, man. Figure it out after that. Okay, you've got LeBron, Bradley Beal, KD, and Booker. Keep Nurkic at that point. Keep Nasir Little. Resign Eubanks. Let Gordon pick up that player option at that. Just put it together. You'll have LeBron James on the team. He has shown over and over again, despite the fact that he is going into what is it, his age 39 season, like he can make it work with anyone on his roster. So then not only are you not just giving him scraps, you're giving him three of the best offensive weapons that the league has to offer. It would be a great, great move for the Phoenix Suns if they can pull it off. But that's the big word is if they can pull it off. I don't know. Obviously, there are going to be other teams that are thinking the exact same thing that the Phoenix Suns are. Okay, the Suns aren't alone, but the fact that they are one of the only two teams that Bronny is willing to work out for, I think that says a lot.
I think that says a lot too. I really think it shows where LeBron is kind of thinking in his mind. We've also heard with LeBron really kind of rumor wise, but not being involved in the coaching staff and hiring, kind of distancing himself from the Lakers. So if he's on his way out, the Phoenix Suns could be that new team to mesh him in, fitting in with this squad. I know you talked about the graphic with me, but that graphic that you brought up in our last video, well, obviously Bronny, Devin Booker, Bradley Beal, Kevin Durant, LeBron James, like you mentioned, bring in some other role players. Those guys will want to come to Phoenix if LeBron, KD, and Bradley Beal and Devin Booker are there. Trust me, ladies and gentlemen, this team will be competent if that's the case.
And just one more thing to add too with that, like with this potential report that Rich Paul, one of LeBron James's closest confidants, is saying that he is probably going to opt out of that contract. He would be opting out of a legitimate, solidified $50 million on his player option. Okay, that is like wild for LeBron to just be like, I'm gonna say no to that, and I'm just gonna like keep moving forward. That would be a crazy move for LeBron because if he were to opt out of that player option, that limits what the Lakers can do in terms of what they're able to offer him in, a free agent role. Now, of course, this is LeBron James. He's got all the money in the world. It's not going to necessarily break his bank to miss out on a potential $50 million, which is wild to say just in a general sense. But if he opts out, it completely opens all the floodgates. Every team becomes live, including the Phoenix Suns, for potentially bringing not just Bronny, but LeBron James to their franchise if he's willing to take a veteran minimum deal. Because with so many teams dealing with the second apron stuff, teams dealing with the first apron stuff, other teams that have cap space, other teams that don't have cap space, it's completely wild, wide open. It'd be the wild, wild west. It would be LeBron James, everybody else after that. Teams are going to be like Tyrese Maxey. What? LeBronny, let's bring, he's the point guard we want on our team. Like it creates an environment. You have to figure out which teams are going to be the first to bow out, be the ones that are just not going to I'm not even going to tempt fate. I'm not going to try and just blow up my team just to make this happen. But the Phoenix Suns are in a position where it seems like they wouldn't have to blow up their team to make this happen. And that is got to be attractive for not just Suns, not just the Suns organization, not just Suns fans, but for LeBron as well when he looks at the pieces that are currently in place on this roster.
Exactly. And once you get to see that all these guys are locked up under contract, he can take a little bit of a veteran minimum type contract or a lesser contract role. You mentioned already has made a plethora of money in his career. Can take that little contract bite to play with his son. And the Bronny and Bron sweepstakes is going to be rambunctious throughout the offseason. So if you guys want to make sure you stay up to date on everything revolving around this news, revolving around the Phoenix Suns, we'll have the updates for you here on Suns Digest. So make sure to hit that like button. Check out the other videos linked at the top to support your boys Bruce and CJ down below. We'd greatly appreciate. We're trying to get to 1,000 subscribers. You guys have been absolutely killing it. We haven't hit 600, so keep that train going. We appreciate every single one of you. From your host Bruce and CJ, we'll catch you guys in the next video. Signing off on Suns Digest. Peace out and go Phoenix Suns.